SoftBank just dropped $2 billion into Intel, and shares shot up, then took a dive. Trump's signaling a 10% stake swap from CHIPS grants raises eyebrows. Is this a national security boost or a political risk baked into your semis? Stay tuned to see who really comes out on top in this high-stakes game.
Great. Moving forward, we're talking SoftBank. Mentioned it earlier in the show in the intros. The group we're talking about alongside of them is Intel. Gary, thing number 4, Intel's investor comeback with SoftBank. We're talking about a $2 billion position. What do we need to know?
Yeah, so Rob, when we first started writing this, the SoftBank $2 billion investment in Intel, that was the big news. And when that deal was announced, it caused the stock to rise 7%. After that, Intel announced it was seeking additional equity infusions from other large investors to strengthen its balance sheet. And that caused the stock to fall by 7%. Okay, so up on the deal, down that they were looking for more. And then the White House got involved. President Trump, he has been all over the place on Intel. First, he said that Lutnick, the new CEO of Intel, had to resign because of his prior connections to China. Then he met with the CEO and said, okay, I believe him that he says he's going to do the best he can for the company and to keep manufacturing in the United States. And now he supports him. There was also talk that the government wanted to take a 10% stake in Intel. Then they said they didn't want it. And guess what? Now they're getting it. When Lutnick went to meet with the president in the White House at the end of last week, he got the help he was looking for on it, but the president reversed his stance in the White House meeting. Now he's backing Tan, but also the government is going to take a 10% stake in Intel. That'll go up to 15% if Intel spins off its fab plants. Right now, Intel is vertically enabled, meaning they design chips and produce them. If they spin off the production part of it, the government share will go from 10% to 15%.
Gary, what's really what is the big complication here? And is there a good solution or why is there no good solution, or how can these two sides, make this work?
Yeah, so there's no good solution here. I don't like this deal, and I don't have a solution for something that would be better. Here's why it's so complicated. What has happened is, with the exception of Intel, the vast majority of the high-end chips in the world and the very best chips in the world are all made in Asia. China supports their domestic chip manufacturing business to the tune of about $150 billion a year, which is just a huge number. On top of that, Taiwan, which may potentially fall under the control of China, is where the best chips in the world are made. So if you're the United States looking at that, you say, okay, wait a minute, this is a gigantic issue. It's a gigantic national security issue. We need chips for all of our weapon systems, right? So if we end up in a conflict with China, what are we going to do? Say, hey, keep exporting us the chips that we need, for our weapon systems. This is a gigantic problem. The United States does need domestic chip manufacturing capacity. And so the prior White House said, okay, we're going to take $40 billion and it'll be the CHIPS Act, and we're going to give it away to companies that agree to build fab plants, to build production capacity in the United States. And I looked at that and I said, okay, well, I don't like this. I don't like the idea of the government giving away tens of billions of dollars. I don't like the idea of them picking winners, but I really don't like the idea of us not having domestic chip manufacturing capacity. So I said, okay, ultimately, I see why the White House is doing this. And, they seem to be pointed in the right direction. Well, basically, President Trump, the representative of the American taxpayer, again, reasonably said, well, wait a minute. Hey, Intel, you're getting about a quarter of that $40 million, right? It's somewhere in the neighborhood of $10, $11 billion. Shouldn't we get something for that? And guess what? The president's being reasonable. Why should American taxpayers be giving money away? And just think about it. We didn't like the bank ballots in 2008. Do we want tens of billions of dollars being given away now? Now, The amounts being given away now are much less than they were in 2008. And I do think chip manufacturing is much more strategic and important. We do need it. Whereas, had some of the banks failed, I don't think it would have been the end of the world. But it's really complicated. Then, to make things even worse, the deal that Intel had with the prior White House was, okay, you're going to give us $10, $11 billion and we'll build fab plants. Now Intel is being told, hey, guess what? We also want equity, right? We're changing the deal. This falls under the category of we're going to make them an offer they can't refuse, right? It's a Godfather quotation.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't know the right answer. I think it's a bad idea for the United States to strong arm companies into giving the country the country equity stakes. I further worry that a different White House could then basically government controlled equity stakes. At some point, we're going to have a guarantee of non-financial DEI style meddling. And if the whole point is we need high-end chip manufacturing, then that needs to be the goal. And we shouldn't be using these things to further certain social programs or certain social goals or race-based goals. It really needs to be about competence alone, regardless. And so, it's the whole thing it's a mess. It's going to be a mess, but also having all of our high-end chips made in Asia is a national security problem. I think the execution here is going to be difficult. So it's a long way of saying, I don't love this deal, but I don't have a better suggestion for, how else to do this. And for the libertarians in the crowd, for the people who just want, pure capitalism, I'm with you. I think that would be ideal. But then what happens, if the Chinese government is directly supporting their domestic chip manufacturing business and we lose that capacity? And we've spent 40 years outsourcing a huge amount of our manufacturing capacity. And as a result, it's led to enormous problems. And, other countries now have capacity that we lack, and we are now at their mercy. And I don't want us to be there on chips. So long way of saying this is really complicated. I don't see a good solution for any of it.
Yeah, very interesting dynamics at play there, Gary. We'll keep you in tune with how this plays out. And thank you to the DKI interns on that one. A lot of good research as well as everything else throughout the rest of the show. Always want to make a call out to them. Gary, I know you do a good job of that at the end of the show.